Now at 6, a trial begins for the man accused in the death of an off-duty Vancouver police officer while on the run from a robbery. Plus, a program that helps at-risk students get back on track, now at risk of a drastic budget cut.
Well, now you're taking away those opportunities for the most marginalized students in the building.
And lighting the way in Portland parks.
I think it's going to make the park a lot safer, especially as a woman in Portland.
An update on the project to replace hundreds of aging and dangerous light poles. First at 6, we heard opening statements today in the trial of Julio Segura, the man charged in the death of an off-duty Vancouver police officer 2 years ago. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Gordon in for David. Prosecutors say Segura randomly ended up outside of the home of Officer Donald Sahota while trying to get away after a robbery. The encounter set off a chaotic chain of events that ended with the deputy shooting and killing Sahota and after mistaking him for the suspect. Let's get to Blair Best now, who's live outside the Clark County Courthouse. Blair, give us a breakdown of what happened in court today.
Well, Tim, it's somewhat of a complicated case, and opening statements lasted about 2 hours this morning, followed by witness testimony. And we got one side arguing that the robbery suspect's actions leading up to the deadly shooting are to blame, while the defense argues the deputy who fired his gun and the off-duty police officer who was shot and killed are at fault.
This is time for trial. Anything preliminarily, counsels?
Monday morning inside the Clark County Courthouse started with opening arguments in the murder trial of an off-duty Vancouver police officer mistakenly shot and killed by a Clark County deputy. A robbery suspect, 22-year-old Julio Segura, is charged with the murder for the actions that led up to the deadly shooting.
It started out with the defendant's actions.
It all happened 2 years ago, just after 8 p.m. on January 29th. Segura, armed with a fake gun, is accused of robbing an East Vancouver gas station and then leading deputies on a high-speed chase in a stolen car.
Officers and deputies from multiple jurisdictions are all coming to the area.
After ditching the car, police drone video shows Segura running through the woods. He ended up outside Donald Sahota's home. Sahota was the off-duty police officer.
They're actually having a romantic dinner together. They're certainly not expecting anybody to be coming to their house.
Sahota grabbed his gun when he heard someone at the door before deputies arrived, and it's hard to make out in this drone footage, but this is when Segura fights Sahota, stabbing him multiple times. Sahota was trying to arrest Segura. The defense attorney argues Segura did not know Sahota was an officer and that he was acting in self-defense.
You know, he says, I was confused. He said it one time. I couldn't tell. He seemed like he might have had some training, but I couldn't tell if he was a police officer.
The prosecuting attorney argues Sahota did identify himself as an officer.
Don Sahota has his gun and is walking with his gun kind of back like this toward the defendant, tells the defendant that he's a police officer and tells the defendant to get on the ground because he's arresting him. The defendant admits in his confession that Don Sahota identified himself as a police officer.
The defense argues Sahota violated Vancouver Police Department policies by getting involved while off duty.
Off-duty police officers, not in their jurisdiction, or not at all, but not in their jurisdiction, are not supposed to get involved in anything unless it involves a threat to life.
Don Sahota will never know exactly what was in his mind when he made that decision to try to arrest the defendant.
Once law enforcement got to the house, Clark County Deputy Jonathan Feller watched Sahota pick up his gun. He mistakenly thought it was the suspect, so he fired his gun, shooting and killing Sahota. Segura then surrendered and was arrested. As for Deputy Feller, he was placed on critical incident leave, standard protocol following a use of force incident resulting in death.
There was no firearm.
All right, so you saw some of it, but there is a lot of video evidence in this case, so the jury will really be able to see for themselves what happened. And the trial is expected to last 3 weeks. Tim?
Blair, thanks so much. We'll be following that one for sure. Well, to your headlines now. Portland police say they are investigating a social media post by a group claiming responsibility for last week's arson at a PPB training facility. 17 cars were burned in the fire early last Thursday, 2 more than what was originally reported. The post says people cut through the fence at the Northeast Portland training facility and set 10 fires in anticipation of the police response to the PSU library occupation. So far, investigators have not linked the arson with the protests on the PSU campus. Well, the woman accused of kidnapping a 5-year-old boy in southeast Portland last week pleaded not guilty to charges in court today. According to court documents, 31-year-old Leanne Osborne told police she was taking the child to a store for food and drinks. She claimed she had seen the boy at an apartment complex a handful of times and had permission to take him. Osborne later told police she got lost and wasn't sure where the boy lived and instead took him to a school and built a fire to keep warm overnight. The next day, someone spotted them near southeast 151st in Maine. That's where police took Osborne into custody and found the boy. Prosecutors are seeking preventative detention for Osborne to keep her in custody until the trial. Well, a driver is in the hospital with serious injuries after their car broke down and they were hit by a van this morning in southeast Portland. It happened around 4 a.m. on Powell Blvd near southeast 43rd next to Creston Park. Police say the driver was outside of the car on the edge of the road when a van crashed into it from behind. The van's driver cooperated with investigators. Matt?
Thanks so much, Tim. Still snowing up at Timberline and on Mount Hood. It's lightened up a little bit, but coming up later on, I'll show you how much snow we've gotten in the last 8 days. Just incredible amounts, and why that will be a concern for climbers later on during the week as things begin to warm up, which they will do. Right now, we've got a winter weather advisory continuing for parts of the Oregon Cascades to the south and east of Mount Hood, also for the mountains over in northeast Oregon until later on tonight. You can see on Doppler radar, still some strong showers up in the mountains themselves. Over the valleys, there's not a lot of rain here, but still a shower or two, and we'll be under the threat of showers through the evening hours and through the day tomorrow. So the showers continue for one more day. Then we go through weather whiplash at the end of the week as we see a rapid warm up. Mother's Day weather that even your mom should approve of. It's going to be that nice. In fact, let's look at the records for the end of the week. On Friday, which should be the warmest day, the record is 89. We'll be very close. We might even achieve that. That's how close we'll be. On Sunday, which is Mother's Day, this obviously the record is 90. That was back in 2023. What about all Mother's Days? What's the warmest Mother's Day we've had in Portland? Well, that was last year. On the 14th of May, we hit 92. So we had a 90-degree stretch last May. We'll see if we can do it again this May. Tim?
I guess so. Matt, thanks a lot. Well, developing tonight, a Vancouver business owner is leaning on her community after thousands of dollars worth of jewelry was stolen from her vintage shop. Some of those pieces are nearly 100 years old. Joe Ranieri joins us from the Vancouver area now after speaking with the shop owner. Joe, what'd you find out?
Well, most everything vintage, Tim, as you know, has been a fixture in downtown Vancouver for 14 years now. And I spoke with the owner earlier today who said she's never had any issues with people burglarizing her business. Well, that changed late last Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning when she told me someone took a crowbar to the front of this window and gained access. Once inside, they got away with more than $4,000 worth of some rare jewelry. Now, unfortunately, Elisa wasn't able to get a picture of the suspect because she didn't have any surveillance cameras, but she tells me the front door wasn't the only door they went through. They also busted into her office as well. The most expensive things thieves took were the jewelry valued at around $4,000. She's not sure if they swiped any of her vintage clothing during the break-in, but the cost to fix the 2 doors is at least $4,000. While she's going to be out nearly 10 grand between the jewelry and the doors, she's thankful for her community that's really helped her the last few days.
Vancouver Downtown Association stepped in and they were able to get me a grant up to $250 to help pay for video cameras. So we'll be working on that here really soon.
Yeah, she's also describing having what's called, she's having as a sustainable vintage GoFundMe. She's asking people to donate anything vintage that she can then turn around and sell in her store. And all the money raised will go towards purchasing a new set of doors and replacing the items that were stolen. Now, she told me the community, as well as a lot of her friends in this area, have really come together to support her, really finding out the next day what happened. They came out and brought in some food to make her kind of feel better, let her know everything's going to be okay. And so far, things have been okay for her. Already, the community has donated about 50 pieces of clothing and a couple of boxes of jewelry to help her replace the damage from this burglary about a week ago. Reporting in Vancouver tonight, Joe Ranieri, KGW News.
That's great. She's getting their support there, Joe. Thanks a lot. Well, for decades, the Tigard-Tualatin School District has used an innovative approach to help at-risk students succeed. Now that program is facing budget cuts. Thomas Schultz caught up with the students to see how they're feeling about this.
Every year, dozens of high schoolers in Tigard-Tualatin enroll in CE2, a program which helps at-risk students struggling in school get back on track.
A year ago, I was really bad in school, and I had a lot of problems, like drug-wise.
Leslie Sanchez is a senior at Tigard High. She was far behind in credits before transferring to this program when
So I got pregnant.
Joining her boyfriend, Freddie Samayoa.
They kind of understand that my situation is different from everybody else, that it's kind of harder to balance it out.
Balance a newborn, school, and job as a mechanic, though now he's about to graduate.
Things just kind of sorted themselves out.
And for more than 50 years, the program's helped kids sort things out.
When I first joined, I had just gotten out of a car crash, so that made me fall really behind in my credits.
At the time, Dalila Mendez-Hernandez didn't have a plan for the future, though after internships through CE2, she graduated in hopes to enroll at OHSU.
I want to become a midwife nurse.
Though now, Tigard-Tualatin plans to cut 2 of the 4 teachers in the program due to budget cuts, and they plan to slash the entire budget by almost $9 million. We reached out to the district for an interview. They declined a request. And there's concerns program support staff may be eliminated too.
It's sad that we'll have that taken away and that opportunity for many students that need to have that post-secondary kind of like push.
Crystal Evans, the alternative education teacher at Tigard High, says with just 1 teacher, the program won't be the same.
We're taking away opportunities for the most at-risk, high-need students in the building.
Leaving students worried about future kids who may need a little help sorting life out.
They're supposed to be able to give that individual attention. So if one teacher is gone, it puts all the pressure on the other teacher.
And in a statement, Tigard-Tualatin tells us, like many districts across Oregon, they're making necessary budget cuts due to a lack of school funding, though they say they've been able to manage those cuts without having to eliminate any programs. Tim?
All right, Thomas, thanks. We'll see how that plays out.